If you're into tools like me, you probably have a huge stack of these bulky kits that somehow never have the right mix of tools. Why can't you assemble a custom toolkit with all of your favorite brands, like Wera, Knipex, Klein, Wiha, and 711L? What if you could start with a lightweight EDC kit and scale that up over time to a no-compromise tool setup without needing to start over? These are the questions I asked when I started sketching and prototyping a completely new kind of modular tool system that lets you mix and match your favorite tools with an ultra-strong magnetic connector that lets you remix everything in a snap. I'm calling this the Snapmatic system, and I am so excited to show you how it all works. But before we do, let's start at the beginning. A while back, I made a video on the Wera Tool Check Plus, and I think it's so popular with homeowners because it is just enough tools to put together some furniture, tune up your bike, and fix small projects around the house. For somebody in the trades, it can also serve as a core set of bits and sockets that can be part of a larger tool bag. Although the Tool Check Plus is pretty expensive, after tons of research, I had to admit that nothing really beat its combination of size and features, but it's far from perfect. First, the driver and ratchet are really small. And we all know that the case is too fragile to survive long in the tool bag, and it's kind of fiddly to use. And if you want to support both metric and SAE sockets, you need to buy a second kit, which doubles the price. When the ToolCheck modular was announced, I was really excited, but I quickly realized that to get modularity, you lose a decent chunk of the bits and sockets that are the best feature of this tool. You only gain some Allen wrenches and 4mm bits, and I have a long list of stuff I'd rather add before those. The modular connectors are super bulky, and there are lots of fiddly doors that make it really annoying to get tools in and out. Now let me ask you a question. Who needs a dedicated micro driver when your primary bit driver is basically the same size? And most of all, it is super pricey for what it is. The ToolCheck modular really felt like a missed opportunity, but it inspired me to stop waiting around for a company to solve this and see if I could do it myself. I have a whole bathroom full of bamboo 3D printers, so how hard could this be, right? Right? My first goal was to replicate all the core features of the ToolCheck Plus, but better. I started by gathering my favorite EDC tools because I wanted something as capable and space efficient as possible. That included the Wiha double-sided bits because they take up half the space of standard bits. The Wera 838 RAS for its excellent ratchet and ergonomics. The 711 ratchet and extension because they are some of the rare tools that can hold the Wiha bits. The Klein flip sockets because they are double-sided, impact rated, and come in both metric and SAE sets. And the Knipex 125mm Cobras because, well, they rock. I then spent months making a ton of prototypes to try and fit all these into a compact kit. I had a few really cool layouts that I almost went with, but the more I thought about it, it became clear that no matter what I did, this wasn't a one-size-fits-all situation, even for me. What if I wanted to carry both metric and SAE sockets? Or I didn't need them at all. Or I needed both the Cobras and the pliers wrench. Or I wanted a bigger and better driver. After all that work, I decided to start over and reimagine this as a set of individual modules that you could snap together to dial this in for exactly what you needed. That immediately meant I needed to figure out a way to connect these modules together securely, and that turned out to be one of the hardest problems to crack. I started with a sliding dovetail system that required very tight tolerances to keep it from binding up or being wobbly, and I was really worried you could snap these off if you bent it the wrong way. It was hard to find a reliable way to lock them together, and that was a huge problem. Eventually, I gave up on that idea and started prototyping with magnets. After a ton of iteration, I designed this magnetic connector system that I'm calling Snapmatic. It uses an ultra-strong N52 rare earth magnet in this plateau that nests into a recessed slot that has a metal strike plate. The interlocking plastic parts handle the alignment and shear forces, and the magnet can just do its thing and pull the modules together with a ton of force. This magnetic connector system is strong enough to hold a bunch of extremely heavy modules like this together securely, but the cool thing is that you can take them apart just by angling them back like you're breaking a Kit Kat. And you can reattach them by just lining them up and snapping them together. I started with this EDC combo module that has a small bit driver and set of bits on the side. The Wera 838 is my favorite style of ratcheting driver because this ring on the front lets you finger tighten fasteners without shifting your grip, and it works to intuitively change the ratchet direction. Turn it right to tighten and left to loosen. The driver handle is bigger than the one in the ToolCheck Plus and about the same size as the one in the ToolCheck Modular. In fact, the driver from the ToolCheck Modular will fit in this if you don't need a ratchet. Along the right edge, there's an angled holder for 12 Wiha double-sided bits that holds them magnetically, and this overhang protects them from getting bumped. Since the bits are placed on the right-hand edge, this is the only module with a single connector, so this needs to be the end of the line. It's really cool that you can carry 24 bits in this tiny space, but these Wiha bits are a tricky beast because they're 30 millimeters long instead of the standard 25 millimeter length, so most drivers can't hold them, including the 838 small. To get around that, there's a 7-11 extension on the front that makes this driver feel much more substantial and holds the bits perfectly. By the way, if you prefer to use bits directly in the driver, you can populate this with any standard 1/4-inch bits you want, but I recommend going with the longer 30 millimeter bits like these Tectons so they're easier to get out. These use high quality S2 steel that are sold in a wide variety of sets for only $5 a piece, so you can dial in the 12 that you want to carry. Around back, there's a slot for the new 711L V2 ratchet. Put it into the 838, lock out its internal ratchet, and you have a really nice setup with plenty of torque. To keep your knuckles from getting beat up, add the extension and you end up with something that can do real work. I had a little extra space, so I added a small removable bubble level that's handy to have in a pinch, but I wouldn't go hanging a TV with this little guy. This tiny module now covers everything the ToolCheck Plus does, except sockets. I'm a big fan of the Klein flip sockets and I've had them for years, but honestly haven't used them much because they use this long shaft as an organizer. It's cool in theory, but in practice it is super annoying to get a socket out because you need to shuffle everything off, then back onto the shaft every time. And this tool kebab is heavy and throws off the balance of your driver. I fixed that by designing an EDC socket module that holds a set of 3 flip sockets magnetically, and it will work with either metric or SAE sockets. It's your choice. Around back is a slot for their 2-inch adapter, so you can grab a socket, slide it on, and there's no shuffling around. You can drop these sockets into the 838 and have a really nice ratcheting nut driver, or use the 711L ratchet for a way more capable socket setup compared to the mini ratchet on the ToolCheck Plus. The ToolCheck Plus has 7 sockets, and the 3 sockets only cover 6 sizes. I like that the Kleins go up to 14 millimeters, while the ToolCheck Plus stops at 13 millimeters. But keep in mind that you are missing out on the 5.5 and 6 millimeter sizes from the ToolCheck Plus. Since I have extra space in this module, I added a slot to hold a Milwaukee Mini 2-meter measuring tape, which comes in handy all the time and has both inches and centimeters, so it makes everyone happy. These 2 modules attach magnetically with a really satisfying snap. Together, these have roughly the same capabilities as the ToolCheck Plus, with a few upgrades like the better driver and ratchet, measuring tape, and level. It's about the same width, but almost 3 inches shorter and way more rugged. This is closer in thickness to the ToolCheck Modular, but shorter. That's a ton of utility packed into something not much bigger than a measuring tape. It's also much faster to use because I designed this so you can attach the extension, ratchet, bits, and sockets while the driver is still docked. So you can hold it in one hand and use your other hand to configure things. Then pull the driver out and start working. When it's time to break things down, you can drop the driver in and disassemble everything while holding it. So you don't need to put this down and juggle a bunch of parts. Try doing that with the ToolCheck Plus and you'll see how much harder it is to do. Everyone loves the Knipex Cobras, so I designed this to hold the 125 millimeter Cobras in a really compact module. In sort of a happy accident, I realized after gluing in the connector magnets that because they're so strong, they can hold anything in this slot, so I made the wall as thin as possible to maximize the grip, and now this has become a universal holder for the 125 millimeter pliers wrench, the 100 millimeter Cobras and pliers wrench, and the 4-inch WorkPro versions of each. Since it's a magnetic attachment, you can carry anything metallic that fits in the slot, like these Klein electrician scissors, a thin flashlight, or these cutters. Heck, you can also carry these Knipex 4-inch cutters, or these combo pliers, or these needle nose pliers. They all fit and are held in magnetically. As I was editing this, WorkPro just introduced these 4-inch slip joint pliers. Both fit great in the holder in both orientations. I've tested over a dozen different tools and they all fit great in this universal wrench slot. But you know what, guys? Just because you can hold this many tools doesn't mean you should. To keep this pliers module as thin as possible, it's actually a little bit deeper than all the other modules. So what I like to do is snap it onto the end, and it actually works as a little bit of a pistol grip. That makes it much more comfortable to carry. To get closer to the functionality in the toolcheck modular, I also wanted to add a set of hex keys. I found these really nice PB Swiss short metric keys that are rainbow colored, but they lacked ball ends. So I worked with Steinwhale to produce a very similar set with ball ends that I think are way better and they're more affordable. I designed a really compact Allen key module that holds them in 2 rows with a combination of friction and magnetic retention. I was able to sneak a mini Ticonderoga pencil holder, and it's been really handy to have. I personally love the Leatherman double-sided file and use it all the time, so I added an optional slot that you could populate with that or really any T-shank tool that fits. These 4 modules make for a really capable EDC style setup that's perfect for something like a motorcycle kit or just a starter kit for somebody who just got their first home that wants quality over quantity, and they can build up from there. You may be sitting there saying, well, this is cool, but I want something a little bit different. And that's the power of this modular system. We're not done yet. So let's start with the sockets. Let's say that you want to carry both SAE and metric sockets. Unlike the toolcheck Plus, you don't need to buy 2 entire sets to cover both. You can just swap out the EDC sockets with this duo model that holds both sets of sockets for 12 sizes total. Don't need both metric and SAE, but you want more sizes? Well, the Socket Pro module uses the larger set of 4 flip sockets to give you up to 8 sizes. I had a little extra room, so I added 2 1/4-inch holes, so you can pick any 2 nut drivers to round out any missing sizes. For metric, I chose the 9 and 11mm sizes, or you can swap in the 6mm to cover smaller bolts. But the nice thing is you can choose whatever you want. If you want the maximum amount of sockets, you can have 2 of these Socket Pro modules, 1 for metric and 1 for SAE, and have 20 different sizes on hand. This module has the adapter slot in the top, and below that is a small magnetic pad to temporarily hold screws, bits, and other metal parts, which really comes in handy when you're up on a ladder. If I'm installing an internal magnet, I try to make it hold the tools on both the front and the back of the tool, so I'm getting twice the utility. You can also upgrade the driver and bits in this combo module by having a separate module for each. For the driver, the Wera 838 RARM steps up to a full-sized handle with the same great ratcheting system as its smaller sibling. This also includes the excellent locking wrap adapter, so the Wiha double-sided bits work directly in the driver. Around back is storage for the 711L extension and their beefier flex head ratchet, which is great for reaching odd angles. Together you have an excellent no compromises ratcheting driver setup. At the bottom, there's a slot for a bubble level and Uncle Bill's tweezers that are great for pulling out a splinter. As you can see, I'm really trying to pack each module with the maximum number of tools possible. To upgrade the bits, I designed this extended bit module that holds 25 1/4-inch bits. It's also optimized to hold the Wiha double-sided bits. If you buy the Technician and Industrial packs, you can get 20 unique bits and carry 40 and still have 5 slots over to customize. The bits are securely held in magnetically, so they're really easy to remove, but won't fall out on their own. For extra security, if you were to toss this into a bag, I include a hard cover to protect the bits that can double as a parts tray. Around back, I've designed slots to hold 9 4mm precision bits, and that covers the last feature gap with the toolcheck modular. Instead of carrying a separate precision driver, I think it's way more efficient to just include a 1/4-inch to 4mm adapter and use the main driver. So that's what the 25th slot on the front is for. By swapping out those 2 modules, we've now gone from a lightweight EDC setup to a fully featured driver with a full set of bits that can tackle pretty much anything. If you want to upgrade to the ultimate bit driver, the Wiha Centrofix is my top choice because its locking mechanism is absolutely rock solid with 0 play, just like a real screwdriver. There's no ratchet, but it is the best bit holder on the planet. Drop in the 711L ratchet and you have a rock solid setup. I know a lot of you are really into the Japanese ball style handles like the Vessel and Anex because they're so ergonomic. I designed a module to hold this Anex ratcheting driver, which is one of my favorites. This is a super smooth ratchet with a rock solid setup that's really close to the Centrofix. Klein recently got into the ball driver game too and just released the ratcheting version, so I made a module that fits both and it works great. I will say after testing both of these, I much prefer the Anex ratchet over the Klein because it's so much easier to switch directions and is a much smoother driver than the Klein because it has way more teeth. In my book, the Klein just comes up short. Around back, these all have the same 4 tools as the full-sized Wera module. For launch, I'm focusing on producing just the Anex driver module, but let me know down in the comments if you want the Klein option in the future. A while back, I did a video on how you can combine the Centrofix with a long 4-inch blade to come up with something that feels exactly like a dedicated screwdriver without needing to carry 20 different drivers. The key with these blades is that they taper, so the blade diameter is only as thick as the tip, so they can fit into tight spaces and reset screws just like a traditional screwdriver. That's something a bit holder can't do. Combined with the amazing Centrofix bit holder, these things have zero play and they just feel like a regular screwdriver. Sadly, these Wiha blades went out of stock shortly after I did the video, and they've been pretty much out of stock since then. I've been looking around for some other company that could produce these at scale, and Steinwhale stepped in and offered to make 3 and 4-inch versions of these in a lot of different types. These are excellent quality bits made with hardened S2 steel with CNC machined magnetic tips with a dark gray finish. I actually like these more than the Wihas because they're less expensive, come in more varieties, are impact rated so I can use them in my Surge, and include plastic organizers with labels instead of a plastic bag. They're sold in individual sets so you can mix and match what you need. There's Phillips and slotted, standard and security Torx, metric and SAE hex, Posidrive, Robertson, all available in both 3 and 4-inch lengths. I'm so happy to be able to tell people that there is a reliable source for these long blades because it's something that a lot of you have been asking about. Once I knew these were coming, I designed this tall blade module that will work with both the 3 and 4-inch version of these blades. It has 15 slots, and you can snap together multiples of these to carry more. And together with the Centrofix, this is a killer combination. I think the 3-inch or 75mm blades are ideal for the Centrofix unless you need a lot of extra reach. Since the bits sit much deeper in the handle of the Japanese style holders, the 4-inch or 100mm blades are ideal for those. In fact, you can see the 3-inch blades in the Centrofix are pretty much the same length overall as the 4-inch in the Anex ratchet. At launch, I want to have all of these modules available for you to purchase so that you can build your perfect kit. There's a combination EDC driver and bit module, 3 full-size drivers, 3 socket options, 2 bit organizers, a metric hex wrench module, and a universal tool holder for a total of 11 modules at launch. You can mix and match any of these modules to make your perfect kit. And you can adjust what you carry day by day by just snapping modules in and out. I see this as just the beginning of the Snapmatic system, and my plan is to introduce more modules once I catch up with the initial orders. I've been experimenting with modules to carry drill bits, a magnetic parts tray with divider, the Klein ball driver, and more. Let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see next, and I'll tackle the most popular ones. So I've had a few people ask me if this is a tool bag replacement, and the answer is definitely not. This is designed for a grab-and-go situation, like you're putting together some furniture or working on your bike, and it's also complementary to a tool bag. For example, I recently replaced the Tool Check Plus in my Vito tool bag with a pair of long bit modules to use with my Centrofix, and I also keep a pair of Pro sockets for metric and SAE that I use with my 1/4-inch Wera Cyclops ratchet. So these don't replace a tool bag, but they're great things to use as organizers inside your tool bag. So let's talk about how you can get your hands on some of these modules. I've been busy printing them out for the last month or two, so I do have some stock on hand, and I'll be selling them on my systematictools.com store for $28 per module. Now, I know I'll hear from a lot of you that that's a lot of money for a piece of plastic, but let me explain why it costs what it does. Each module takes 2 to 3 hours to print and uses quite a bit of filament because they're incredibly beefy. Inside, each module uses around $6 in magnets and strike plates, and there's actually a very involved finishing process to sand, glue, clamp, and clean all of the magnets and strike plates. Keep in mind that these are handmade by one guy printing these out in his bathroom, so they are going to be more expensive than a mass-produced product. But I'm really trying to keep prices as reasonable as possible. And to that end, I'm offering discounts if you buy multiple modules together. For example, if you buy 4 modules, you'll get an automatic 10% discount. Buy 6 and save 15%, or buy 8 and get 20% off the module price. I'm also offering free US shipping for orders over $100. I also recognize that the limited drops I was doing earlier can be pretty frustrating to people because it's really easy to miss out. So instead, I've created a pre-order system so you can pick out the exact modules that you want to buy today, and I'll deliver them when they're ready. Just head over to systematictools.com, and I've built a module configurator that lets you drag, drop, and reorder modules to help you visualize your perfect kit. And then you can add it to your cart with one click. The pre-order system will allow me to better prioritize which modules to make, and I'll be fulfilling orders in waves based on when you purchase. I've printed a bunch of modules up front and figured that I can comfortably handle 100 to 150 orders a month, so when you purchase, you'll see what wave you're in and the projected ship time frame. I opened the pre-order first to my supporters on Patreon, so if you'd like to be at the front of the line next time, think about supporting my channel by becoming a member. Think of it as Kickstarter with none of the sketchiness and less waiting. When you purchase the modules, they will come empty, but I'll be offering some of the tools at purchase, like the 711L ratchets and extenders, Uncle Bill's tweezers, and the Tecton bits. The drivers, sockets, and pliers are really expensive for me to stock, and many of you already own them, so you'll need to buy the parts separately. I'll provide Amazon links to load up your modules at checkout, and they'll be linked down in the description. I'm sure a lot of you are going to ask, but unfortunately I can't offer the 3D print files for the modules because it makes it way too easy for people to knock off my designs and sell shoddy versions on Amazon. I genuinely want the Snapmatic system to be as open and accessible as possible, so I really want to hear your ideas on how to make that happen while protecting the work I spent on designing these. I'll do a follow-up video to talk about how I really want to create a community around Snapmatic, so stay tuned. All right, well that's the Snapmatic system. I've spent the last year sweating every detail and printing out hundreds of modules, and I can't wait to get this out into the world. Let me know down in the comments what you think of this and how it could be even better. Thanks for watching, everyone. Till next time.